I'm Helen-Ann Smith. I'm a specialist content producer at Sky News. I'm currently the economics producer, but formerly I was running the Sky Ocean Rescue campaign for Sky News. So Sky Ocean Rescue is Sky News' campaign to protect the oceans, with a particular focus about plastic pollution and the impact that that has. It came about because my sort of former job was as the science producer, and myself and the science correspondent, my colleague Thomas Moore, we were heading out to do a story that was based out in Bermuda. We suddenly realised that in this island, which sort of geographically sits right on the edge of the sort of Atlantic garbage patch, and this tiny island with like so few people living there was just covered in plastic, and it just waves and waves and waves of it. And when we were there, we're like, wow, we really need to do a story about this. This is completely insane, and people in the UK probably just never see it, don't even realise. So we did, and very shortly afterwards there was a suggestion that came up within Sky News that, you know what, we should do another campaign, and that Sky News should be kind of at the hest of that. And I basically said, I feel really strongly that we should do it on this. So I put together a pitch and a proposal, and together with John Riley, who's the head of Sky News, we went over to pitch it to the CEO of Sky, and he went for it. I think sometimes in the broadcast media you forget just how powerful your voice is, and you kind of operate in your own world where you're kind of beavering away doing journalism with your colleagues, and things go out on the telly, and that's great, but then you don't actually necessarily realise the impact that that's having. And this was an example where I was like, wow, God, it went really fast. So we launched in the January, and one of the things that we were campaigning for was a bottle deposit scheme, which is basically the system where you pay a sort of 5 to 10 extra p on your plastic bottle when you buy it, and then if you take that bottle back to the shop where you got it, you get that deposit back. It was less than 2 months after we launched, Coca-Cola, who had previously been the strongest, most kind of vicious advocates against these schemes, actually came out and said, okay, we're dropping our opposition for them in Scotland. And I just remember this moment being like, wow, there's less than 2 months, and I can't believe that's happened. And then from there, things just snowballed. So many other media are now talking about it. It's funny, like when we launched in January, sort of just over a year ago, nobody was talking about plastic. Nobody was talking about it, and now everyone's talking about it, and that is such a sort of an exciting thing, and it makes you feel really proud. And the most important thing really is that people, like the general public, are so much more aware of it as a thing. You know, there was a time maybe 18 months ago that if you were that person turning up with like your kind of like reusable coffee cup, people would be like, why are you doing that? Well, now that's just so normal, and for me that's just the most kind of, I don't know, it's the most it just makes me feel so proud of the campaign and what the team have done, because it really feels like so much has moved in the time since we launched, and that's great. When we were filming for the first documentary I made, which was a Plastic Tide documentary, we went to Mumbai in India to meet up with this incredible guy called Afroz Shah, who was basically a one-man band. He had decided that the local beach where he lived in Mumbai was a disgrace, and he needed to do something about it. The plastic on that beach was waist high, miles along, and one day he was like, I can't deal with this, I've had enough, and he went down and he just on his own started picking up plastic, and now he's been picking up plastic for I think a year and a half. He's got this army of like volunteers. He's been mentioned by the Indian Prime Minister. Bollywood stars have come to help him out. He's like this kind of local superstar celebrity, and fundamentally this beach that was waist high plastic was clean. So we went to film with him, and this was partway through his work, as it were. The beach was still pretty awful, and spending time with him was so amazing. It was he would every day invite us back to his house for curry, and he was the most infectious, exciting, interesting, lovely person, and a complete inspiration. And that was really special, just because it's like the heart and soul of someone that just brings your whole story to life. That was awesome. You find yourself in the most brilliant places with the most unique things happening to you, and it's just such a privilege. It's such a privilege.